and fuck Donald Trump. Fuck Donald Trump.
careful. Woo! Well, that's certainly interesting. The things you see when you come out on the road in 2020. Folks, that's why you got to practice cardio. That's why you got to practice good diet, good nutrition. You gotta be ready for this stuff. You gotta be ready for all this stuff. You don't know what's gonna fly at you. There was literally just an earthquake like a half hour ago. All right. You gotta understand what's going on. You have to understand and see everything. You can't be complacent in 2020, because 2020 will come at you. 2020 will come at you when you least expect it. Seattle, Oklahoma, Tulsa, don't matter. 2020 will come at you. So you gotta be ready. You absolutely gotta be ready for all of it. And that's why I'm here. Show you all the truth. That's why I went to Seattle last weekend. That's why I'm here now, to show you what's happening. Gonna do one more lap, then I'm out. Going in.
Just to see how y'all just come together as one and just have a good ass time, man. Knowing the history right here in this strip, God come together, there's no beef, ain't no violence, it's just all love right here. This shit's so good. I want y'all to hear my big dog, my big homie, my brother, a person that, you know, is real big in the DC area, to come up here and talk to y'all, just to give y'all a little bit of, you know, what we got going on and why we even here in Oklahoma today. My man Darius from Good Projects, we got a non-profit which is based out of Washington, D.C., where we are really focusing on poverty that's happening in the northeast area, the northwest area. I just want to kind of, give them the undivided attention, say some words to the ability to come from the people.
This car.
Give it a hand one time. Give it a hand one time.
Big group of people back there. They're partying. They're partying because they have high energy, because they know that their movement is on the rise. Because their movement, their energy, their wavelength is riding high. Very high. And keep in mind, they've got every corporation behind them. They've got every level of the establishment behind them. And you've got groups like Antifa that are also going into that unit, going into that movement. What does that mean? It means you better wake up, folks. It means you better wake up, folks. Because, yeah, you've got Black Lives Matter, but you've also got the anarchists, the Antifa types. You've got left-wing progressives. Got a little bit of everything in there. And if you guys think that any of this is going to go away just because there's some election, no. No, no. And there are people who want to exploit this. The Antifa movement wants to exploit this into a full-blown insurrection against America. That's what Antifa wants. You saw them knocking over the statues of George Washington, spray painting 1619 on it. The National Guard and the Tulsa police had to be brought in just so regular people, just so regular citizens could go watch the President of the United States give a speech. To go watch the President of the United States give a speech. Do you understand that? Do you understand the moment you're in? The National Guard military force was required for regular Americans to be able to watch the President of the United States give a speech in Tulsa, Oklahoma. is America in 2020. This is what they want. So between COVID, people said, how come the rally wasn't packed? I said, how come the rally wasn't packed? Well, I'll give you a clue. Number one is because there is something called coronavirus, the Chinese virus that came in. And they know it affects older people. So a lot of older people weren't there tonight. That's number one. And the older people usually sit in the seats, and the younger people then go into the crowd. That's just how it usually works. So on the floor there, the mosh pit. But because the older people weren't up in the seats, more people went up into the seats. The younger people went into them. But number two, there is a violent leftist movement in this country. And it's not only about left, right, up, down, right? No. It's about, do we want the rule of law or do we want mob rule? Do we want civilization or do we want barbarism? The choice is very clear, actually. The choice is very clear. 1619, okay. So for those of you who don't know, the 1619 Project is an indoctrination program made by the New York Times and other academics to say the United States was not founded in 1776 on the basis of liberty and freedom, but that the United States was founded in 1619 on the basis of slavery. And therefore, everything that has come from the United States is inherently evil because it comes from slavery. Right? That's the 1619 indoctrination program. And you see that the 1619 indoctrination program has had a large effect on their target audience, those they are attempting to indoctrinate, because we saw the statue of George Washington knocked over and the number 1619 was spray painted on it. Okay, so that's a successful indoctrination program. Successfully indoctrinated, right? They altered the history of the United States like that. And that was and you can't, right? So people say to me, well, Jack, but the New York Times said this, and the New York Times is a reputable source. I said, is that the same New York Times that tried to overthrow all of U.S. history to run an indoctrination program to make people hate this country? That New York Times? Yeah, okay. But because there's so much violence out there, does it surprise you that people weren't necessarily ready all the way to come out to a Trump rally when there was this much violence? And we've seen that by and large, no one is doing anything about the violence. By and large, no one is stopping it. No one is shutting it down. No one is enforcing law and order. No one is telling the police to step up and do what they got to do. No one is setting the National Guard out to do what they need to do. Even when the National Guard was here tonight, by the way, they barely did anything. They held the perimeter in a couple of areas. They did some presence ops, but other than that, that was it. So I'm very critical of the Tulsa Police Department or the Tulsa City, and I'm not sure exactly who the blame lies on because of the way they set this up. It's a complete failure, complete failure of the tactical deployment. There should have been a separation with barricades, an area for the protesters that they knew were going to come because they already said they had information that the protesters were going to come. So why didn't you set up an area for protest and then have an area for the rally goers? It's as simple as that. Have an area for protest and have an area for your rally goers. That way each side can exercise their First Amendment right to assembly peacefully, and they don't have to clash like that in the middle. And then when they clashed in the middle, the National Guard left on the bus, and a couple of police officers were stuck in the street trying to deal with the whole thing with their pepper ball guns. When you could have saved the entire thing earlier on if you just set up a couple of barricades, a couple of fences, a couple of wooden barricades, roadblocks, and had the whole thing set up and said, look, okay, here's where the protest is, and here's where everything else is. By the way, all the stores are boarded up. Let me tell you something. These aren't boarded up for Trump supporters, and these aren't boarded up for regular Americans. You know why they're boarded up. We all know why they're boarded up. Looters and rioters. And I saw the exact same thing in Washington, D.C., and I saw the other thing as well in Seattle. So there you go, folks. There you go. That's the situation on the ground and the situation in the country. So we're seeing what's happening in the United States, and a microcosm of that right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So why didn't the police set up barricades to keep everyone separate, keep everyone safe? I respect Black Lives Matter right to peaceably assemble. I respect the right of protesters to go and protest a Trump rally. Go right ahead. Go right ahead, as long as it's peaceful. As long as it's peaceful, it's nonviolent. I've been holding nonviolence rallies and the nonviolence pledge for years. Right at the Washington White House, Lafayette Square Park. Go look. Hungry because there's like no food out here right now. Saul Alinsky rule for radicals number 12 is what? Isolate and personalize. Saul Alinsky rules for radicals number 12 is to isolate, to personalize, and to make personal attacks of that individual. So when you isolate them from their support groups, you isolate them from their networks, you attempt to isolate them from their family, then you ridicule them, you smear them, you attack them, you do everything you can in your power to diminish them as an individual, to make a caricature of them as an individual, and then you split them off. This is the essence of cancel culture. This is where cancel culture comes from. Just go read Rules for Radicals. I can't believe there are still people living in the world today trying to make sense of what's going on when you see the tactics being used every single day. Just go read it. It's not that hard. No, seriously, I am hungry. Yeah, there's a lot of reports. So I will say that I talked to the owner of my hotel, and I asked her, I said, have you guys seen anything like this before? And she said, honestly, she said, look, we've had some protests and we've had some marches, but we've had nothing like this. She said, it's never been this size, it's never been this many people. And what local business owners told me was that people were coming in from out of town to attend this march, to attend this rally. On the protest side is what I'm saying, on the protest side. Obviously, people came from out of town to see the president. So now you understand there's an organizational function of the protests as well. Okay, and you saw the video that I just played. You know, everybody got together. They've obviously got communications network. They've got a way to get word of mouth out. It's an open source movement. You gotta understand, it's an open source movement. Go read John Robb on this. Open source movements, they blend, they intersect, right? That's the point of intersectionality. Intersecting movements working together towards a greater goal. Okay? The point of intersectionality was that maybe not every one group has the same goals and ideals, but by joining together, they can form a coalition. And that coalition is stronger than the parts. The whole is stronger than the sum of the parts. That's what I'm trying to say. The whole is stronger than the sum of its parts. Literally everything is closed. I'm so hungry. There's like nothing out here. And conservative, what are conservatives doing? Somebody just asked in the comments. Conservatives, I don't even know what conservatives are doing. What are conservatives doing? Somebody tell me, because I don't know. Can anyone tell me? I don't know. What's the hashtag of 2020? Oh, right, there isn't one. What's the next thing that conservatives are looking forward to? What's the next big event? What's the next big conservative event? What is it? Can anyone tell me? Go ahead, here. I'll look in the comments. Off the top of your head. What is the next big, if you're a conservative, if you're a Trump supporter, what is the next big conservative event that's coming up right now? Yeah, someone just said watching me. Right, there isn't one. There isn't one, right? And so where's that leadership? Well, the leadership falls on everyone, right? The leadership falls on us, the influencer community. The leadership failure falls on every leader. On the Republican side, people who were elected, of course, people that you've given money to for a long time. But look, I'm out here doing what I need to do for One America News because that's my role. That's the role I'm playing, is to bring you the truth, is to show you what's going on, to show you what's all going on. If CPAC already happened, what are you guys saying CPAC? CPAC literally already happened. That's one thing. So you can't even name anything. All you can name is the last thing. You can't even name the next thing. Someone said, we just don't want to be hurt. And that's it. You've got one side that's willing to use violence, and then you've got another side that isn't enforcing the rule of law. Where's the rule of law? It's a simple question, simple proposition. So just say a prayer. Say a prayer tomorrow for your countries. Say a prayer tomorrow for your fathers. Tomorrow's Father's Day. Make sure that you pray for your fathers tomorrow. I know I'll be praying for my father. And got him some pretty good presents in Seattle. So I'm going to give those to him. It's going to be awesome. And be ready, folks. Be ready. And be careful out there. But as one thing that I think the president said that was pretty good tonight was that he said, we need to protect our heritage. We need to protect our heritage. And it's really as simple as that, isn't it? We need to protect our heritage. Because if we don't have our heritage, what do we have? It's year zero. Look up what year zero means. The new people and the old people. We don't want that. We don't want to go down that road. Demand better from your elected officials. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, you have my permission to lay ashore.